Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of WTF VA. We're mostly on Rumble because YouTube probably doesn't like us saying what we're going to say and the shit that we say and fuck and all that stuff. But that's all right. So I'm on Rumble and on YouTube. I've got the Fulfilled Veteran podcast as well that's on YouTube and Rumble. So make sure you guys are liking, sharing, subscribing, support any way you can, every way you can. That's why I've got multiple podcasts. That's why I've got awesome guests on here, is because we've been silent professionals for too long. And I know that every time I talk to somebody, they want to help more people, but they just don't know how. And the easiest way is to be out on camera like Brian and Gerald are today. So I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll have them introduce themselves here shortly. But like Tim Pool, I sponsor myself, so I get to say whatever the fuck I want to say. And I'm going to talk about some of my shit first. So we're going to talk about that. Over my shoulder, and you'll see multiple times, I've got the Fulfilled Veteran Project is in multiple places. If you guys don't know who I am, somewhat shame on me. That I have helped over 3,000 veterans receive at least $5,000 minimum per month. That adds up to, all in all, about $10 billion that I've delivered to my clients. $10 billion in the last 5 years. So if you don't know who I am, now you do. So look me up, the fulfilledveteranproject.com, and you can check that out and get to know more about me. I've worked with, like I said, over 3,000 clients. The best and deadliest humans on earth are my clients. So 160th fighter pilots, Delta guys, SEAL guys, all that. All the silent professionals come to me, and that's why I've got those clients, and it's all through word of mouth. And Gerald will tell you more about that as we keep moving forwards here, I'm sure. But yeah, the silent professionals come to me, and everybody needs help. We'll talk about that today, that how the Army alone kicked out over 200,000 troops after COVID. And just to put a number to that, if every troop is supposed to get $5,000 a month, that is $1 billion a month that they're not receiving. $1 billion a month for 200,000 troops who signed the dotted line, raised their hand, and then they got kicked out. So who's going to help them? I do. I want to help them. So send them my way. I'll help them. But anyway, I want to talk about another thing I've got going on here. So I've got a book deal. 4 books are coming out this calendar year. First one is the first 5 books that veterans should give themselves. A lot of F words in there. So things like fitness, faith, family, finances. The key one is fast. So nobody else out there is doing what I'm doing, helping veterans quickly. And before we got on camera, Brian was telling a bit of his story about how it took him 22 years to get to where he is right now. And shame on the government. The big check that's over my left shoulder is over there because that's the big check that every veteran should get when they walk out the door. They're not getting it. And the government hides it from them, chops it up into little bitty pieces, and puts it out in a million different places that I know where it is. And I help my veteran clients receive that. But it ain't fucking easy. And the government always changes and changes all the time, constantly changing. I call it the rotisserie of fuckery. They're always doing something stupid, hiding veterans' money from them. And the more you know, the more you're going to be pissed off that the government's doing that to you. Anyhow, first five books are coming out here soon. And I've actually got a meeting today with my publisher. Got podcasts going on, all that stuff. So you're going to see a lot more of me out there on social media. So please, again, like, share, subscribe. The 2 main ways that guys come to me are, number 1, through direct word of mouth. Hey, I know Johnny. Johnny said Albert's the best. Let me go talk to Albert. Second is by a social media post that, oh, hey, I know Johnny so well that Albert, I'm on your calendar now because Johnny said you're a badass. So my point back to you guys is the whole like, share, subscribe. It really does help a hell of a lot more than what you think it does. So appreciate you guys. I'll turn it over to Gerald and Brian to introduce themselves. Again, just guys, 1 or 2 minutes of what you did in the service and what you're doing now. Gerald, start with you.
All right. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jerry Castle. Retired Army Warrant Officer, W4. I retired in 2010 after 24 years of active service. And the last 10 years of my career, well, let me back up. I was a ground guy for the first 7 years of my career, picked up the flying bug, and then put in for the warrant officer program, and then became a helicopter pilot. I flew the Black Hawk for 17 years. And the last 10 years of my career, I was with the 160th SOAR. I was the 1st Battalion guy. So I was one of the flight leads, and spent 10 years there, 10 years back and forth to war, both Afghanistan and Iraq. Our schedule was a little different than the active or the regular Army folks. Basically, we did 2 months on, 2 months off, 2 months on, 2 months off. Over a 10-year period, I think I've logged about 4.5 years of combat time, both Afghanistan and Iraq, if you add it all up. 2010, time to go. My father was a 26-year police officer. He said that I asked him at 20 when he knew it was time to retire, and he said, "It'll slap you right in the face. It'll hit you so hard that you'll want to, where do I sign, and then get out." And at 26, that's what it did for me. So I was done, put in my paperwork, and finally left the military. So been in the contract world for the last 14 years, flying. I climbed out of the cockpit in 2019, and now I'm managing a program, an aviation program with a government agency. So that's a little bit about me.
You can let us know who that government agency is if you want to. But
yeah, it's with the FBI.
I knew who you were. I don't know if you want everybody else to know who you are, but I know.
That's all right. That's good shit. It's that quiet professional stuff going on.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
the three-letter acronyms.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit.
Brian, fire away.
I just want to say, holy shit, like, you do exist. Like, in the Marine Corps, warrant officers are mythical creatures. So
yeah,
you exist. Yeah, good shit, man. Hell yeah. I wish I could say that my military journey was, as lengthy and fulfilling as yours, but it wasn't. I served in the Marine Corps infantry. I was an 0331 machine gunner. I only served for 2 years because I had a traumatic event about 2 months before 9/11 happened. I wound up getting discharged under less than honorable conditions. Like I said, it took me 22 years to get everything corrected. I can go into that story more if you like, but I'll tell you this. I would have served. I would have been over there. My unit was the first unit to go to Iraq after 9/11. IMF, tip of the spear, Fallujah, Nasiriyah, Baghdad. My suite mate, I mean, you guys have been there, you guys were in there for a while. So my suite mate, his name was Sergeant Byron Norwood. He was actually KIA at the Hell House, Chechens, that kind of stuff. I think his parents were invited by George W. Bush to a State of the Union that year. So this would have been like 03, 04 or something like that. Anyway, so point being is I would have been there, but I got fucked up early on. But since then, I built a career in corporate marketing, communication, strategy stuff. Bachelor's degree, MBA. Gave up. I was not fulfilled. Fucking dropped everything. Moved to China. Lived in Beijing for 4 years. Determined to figure out my own path. And as luck would have it, I met an Oscar-winning producer at a coffee shop sitting next to me, and he took me under his wing. So I'm a writer and producer. I'm writing my story, kind of pulling back the curtain on PTSD a little bit. That's in the process of getting published right now. I'm also paired up. I have a producing partner, 5-time Emmy winner. We're working on a couple of documentaries. One of them is about PTSD as well. So my company is called 8B Media. We do things. It's not all military stuff. It's not all trauma porn or whatever else you want to fucking call it. But those are some of the bigger projects that we're working on right now. So my story, this PTSD documentary. We've also been in negotiations with these Kenyan tribal warriors for about a year, getting ready to shoot a documentary about, and actually I'll be participating in a warrior ritual. Specifically, I'm looking at the rituals that they perform when they return from battle. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So glad you guys are in the room today, because there's another guy that he's here local to me. It's actually how I met him. Is one of my staffers knows him, and we've chatted on the phone. But he is part of teams with they've got 12 Emmys, and documentaries, and that's why I'm glad you guys are both in the room today, because you're gonna learn more about him. Pete is his name. So Pete and I talked the other day, and so he's gonna be on podcast, and I know aside from Brian, I've got another guy, I don't even know if he's climbed mine, but I interviewed him for my book a couple of years ago, and he said he wants to be the veteran. How do you call this? Like a director of not just the veteran Spielberg kind of a thing. Like you want to be that level of director, and so I want to make sure I circle back and get him more involved in the podcast.
Yeah, link. I would say link me up, because we've got some documentary stuff that we're doing, but we've also got some some completely unrelated shit. Like I've got a comedy that we're pretty deep into development on. We've got an action. We've got like an action rom-com kind of thing. We've got a period piece. We got a number of different like completely unrelated projects. Like I said, it's not all trauma porn. It's not all documentary stuff necessarily. But some of those things got to get out there. But yeah, you should look them up. Like I said.
Yeah. And something else I was thinking of on that too. Even just us folks getting our story out there in whatever way it is. I mean, what I like, where I believe our nation is going is there's like grunt style. I mean, I've got grunt style on right now. No, I don't. But We the People. So We the People, grunt style, 9-line apparel. Those are the big ones. You don't really know of a Black Rifle Coffee Company, stuff like that. But there should be like, we know who Brian is before he walks in the room. That's what I want. I want, as quickly as humanly fucking possible, for us to go, oh shit, Jerry, yeah, I know that motherfucker. That dude is legit in X number, whatever, video this or podcast that or shirts or coffee or whatever. There's too few veterans out there that are actually doing big shit. And I call it the empire. So it could be a nonprofit empire, it could be a for-profit empire, it could be whatever. So like merging veterans and players. That's a growing empire as well, and I need to get them on the podcast. So if anybody out there doesn't know who they are, let me know. If you do know who they are, let me know, because anyway, I don't want to talk too much about them, but I'll have them on here. But Jerry, go ahead.
Albert, just to add to that, as Brian alluded to, I mean, veterans, in my opinion, they don't have a place to go. They don't have a avenue to go. I mean, we all have great ideas. We're all self-starters. We all make things happen. A little quick story. When I was getting ready to retire, I was job searching and talking to different CEOs. One of them was in Vegas. It was a job in Vegas. It was going to fly. It was a flying position. I called him. Or no, we emailed. He said, "Hey, got you. I got your resume. Everything's looking great." 2 weeks went by. He said, "Hey, update your resume, blah, blah, blah." And then I didn't hear from him. Crickets. It was like 4 or 5 months. So I wrote him, no answer. Called him. He finally answered. He said, "Hey, man, is this still working? Is this still going?" He basically said to me, he said, "The guys like you," he said, "you guys make things happen. In the civilian world, you have to let things happen." And I'll never forget that. And I said, "You know what? I'm not going to be that way. I'm not going to be that way." And Brian, you're the guy, man, that you make shit happen. So
you got to make shit happen. Hey, let me tell you something, not to interrupt, but like really quick, but like I found out that if you don't fucking do it yourself, you don't advocate for yourself, nothing's going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
But I'll let you get back. Sorry to interrupt on that.
No, it's all right, man, because I think that a lot of veterans, whether it be post-traumatic stress, counseling, I got a few stories on the counseling we'll talk about, I'm sure. But there's really a veteran comes out of the military. For example, spent, long time in active duty. When I retired, it was, here's your award, here's your plaque, slap you on the back, see you later. And then it was, it's like Jerry Who, after 10 years of combat time, or 4.5 years in combat, 10 years in that unit, it was painful. It took me about 5 years to decompress, and then another 5 years to figure out what I did wrong, or where do I go now. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Albert, reached or having avenues available for veterans. I know the government does, but it's very limited, to include the counseling piece with the VA. The mental health piece with the VA is broken. So that's my spiel. I just wish there was more avenues.
I mean, that's why too many are now, a lot more of the left hand and right hand are meeting together. And what I mean by that is one person can't be a specialist at everything. A Navy SEAL can't know everything about psilocybin and what the fuck mushrooms do to people and good, bad, or in different ways. But there's scientists out there who know that stuff. And then there's veterans who, high-level veterans who go, hey, you're an apex scientist. I'm an apex warrior. We need each other. And that's where you get these nonprofits out there that are, when you look at it, it's partnerships. It's somebody who's an awesome scientist or whatever, awesome civilian, could be an awesome pastor or whatever. And then they go, wow, this is a warrior SEAL team guy or Delta dude or whatever. And just here's the problem, because the government's not going to solution it. The government's not. But let's be honest, people. The government's not going to solution it.
The government doesn't do shit. And I mean, to your point, Gerald, like one of the biggest things that I dealt with, I mean, I was only in for 2 years, right? But I was stricken with severe trauma. I was actually halfway through a med board before they fucked me over, right? So like it was bad. But like, it took me, shit. I fucking hid my service. I hid my veteran status from people like when I was in college and grad school and stuff. I had a buddy that I knew for 5 years. Found out I was a veteran only because I have a Marine Corps tattoo on my shoulder. Just happened to have USMC on the side, right?
Yeah.
I think we went like swimming or some bullshit. So I took my shirt off. He's like, "Well, you're a Marine." Like I hid my shit. So like not only does nobody care, but like there's certain shame associated like for people like me, right? But like, so there's that of like trying to decompress and like figure out your life, right? I mean, it even took me probably 15 years post-service before I realized that I'm a storyteller, right? But there's figuring that out, but then there's also no fucking guidance on the other side. There's all these resources out there, but it's all siloed. None of them are talking to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Like for example, there was a press release a couple days ago. VA said, "Hey, we're now going to consider people with other than honorable discharges, OTHs, or BCDs, court martials things for depending on certain types of narrative reasons or various reasons for your misconduct or whatever it is. We're going to now consider that for veterans benefits, healthcare benefits, and pension and things like that. We'll consider your service-connected claim." I mean, that's been out for like almost a week, and have you guys heard about it?
No,
it's on the website.
News to me.
It's on the fucking website, but it's not. But nobody fucking knows about it.
Yeah.
Here we got fucking 20-something veterans committing suicide every day, whatever the fucking real number is. But you've got veterans committing suicide every day that need fucking health care. They need mental health care. They need physical health care. They could use that fucking veteran money. Help them. Stay off the streets. Get some healing. Figure out who they are. Move on. Right. It's all right there, but nobody fucking knows about any of it. It's crazy to me.
If I can use one line, Jared, before I turn it over to you.
Go ahead.
If the government wanted to help, they would. They don't. Why do you pay taxes when the government can print money?
Mm-hmm.
If the government wanted to pay veterans, they would. They don't. If they choose to not do it. Anyways, Jared, back to you.
Yeah. Veteran suicide is a problem. We all know that. But I can't say all negative about the VA for me, my personal role with this, or my personal story with the VA. But on the medical side, on the physical medical side, the VA has been great for me. The VA hospital here in Washington, D.C., can't state of the art, great people, walk around, everybody's very friendly, get care pretty quickly. Now, that is because I believe, the 100% P&T, and that service is available to all veterans. But I don't know, been treated like rolled out the red carpet when I entered this hospital. Now, on the other side, the negative side, the mental health piece is horrible. I came here in 2016 to DC area, started counseling, continuing my counseling with the VA. We had a VA center that was very robust back in 16, 17, and 18. Kept a counselor for 7 years. She saw the writing on the wall with the cutbacks and drawdowns. Make a long story short, she moved on to a different job. The center that I was going to shut down. I reached out back to the VA on the mental health side, just to continue my counseling, my therapy, and nothing, crickets. And I've called them 2-3 times already, and emailed them twice, nothing. So,
look, so I'm in LA, right? So LA's got a pretty robust. We've got, I think we've got 4 VAs from Long Beach up to the valley, up to the South Valley. So within like a 20-mile radius, we've got 4 VA hospitals. Okay. And the one that I go to is very large, very robust. My physical stuff tends to work out pretty well. Like I had back surgery, I had a cyst that they removed, and they were pretty good about that. Recovery was good, all that stuff. Number of other, laundry list of other physical things that they take care of. The mental health side, though, I'm telling you, like I've gone through at least 2 psychiatrists, and at least 4 psychologists. And there's a couple of things. One is they've got very conservative therapies, right? It's very like, this is what's been done, this is what's approved, right? Like your DBT, your CBT, your CPT, stuff like that. They're like, this is what's been approved, we're going to take you through that, and hopefully you're fucking healed, right? I mean, maybe it works for some people, but for people like me, if it's severe enough, and I had to it fostered in my life for 17 years before I could even get into the VA. So I'm pretty much fucked. But I went through 4 different psychologists who have all told me there's nothing more they can do for me. Even the most recent one, a month ago, this guy is a specialist in my type of trauma. He's supposed to be the guy, right? He told me a month ago, he's like, Brian, there's nothing. He's like, I am constrained. He's like, I'll be honest with you, I'm constrained by what the VA allows us to do. And he's like, I don't have the tools or resources available to do the things that I think are necessary for you. And he told me, so I've been in and out. I've been consistently going to mental health care at the VA for 5 years almost. And his conclusion was that I need to get therapy outside of the VA.
And Brian, let me tell you, I went that route outside the VA.
Yeah.
It was painful. It was painful. I went from one counselor to another counselor, and they were horrible.
Well, not just that, but even the ones here in inside the VA, they're limited. They can only see you for 12 to 24 months.
Yeah.
They're only allowed to do that amount of time. And, people like us, you've seen some shit, you've experienced some shit. It could take a lot longer than 12 or 24 months. You know what I mean? There's some stuff that's got, or alternative treatments, right? Albert was talking about psychedelics perhaps, right? Or things like that. It's the VA, is they're helpful in a lot of ways, but with the mental health stuff, I mean, they're so far behind,
Yeah. Something else I want to point out, and this is for your viewers, Albert, that are still active duty. My experiences based on the unit that I was in, the government's really good about spending billions and billions of dollars on hardware, software, equipment, training, but they spend this much on the mental health aspect of their soldiers.
Yep.
And that's the most horrible thing that a commander can, look away from. And I just don't, it's beyond me. Commanders, first sergeants, sergeant majors, take care of your troops. The mission will take care of itself. All right. That's the bottom line. Take care of your troops. The mission will take care of itself. All right. But too many of them get lost in the Kool-Aid, and it's painful. It's painful.
I don't know. I mean, I've been out for 20 something years, right? But like, back when I was in, and maybe it's changed. I'd like to think that it's changed. But back when I was in the Marine Corps, like if you had any sign of injury or mental health needs or whatever, it's weakness, right?
Oh yeah, I've experienced that one too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get put on the shit list.
Yep.
They tell you to suck it the fuck up. All that other bullshit. Look, Marines, Special Forces, choppers and air wing and stuff like that. Like we're some lean, mean fighting machines, right? And you got to be able to pull that trigger, without even thinking about it, right? Like you got to be there, ready to go.
Yep.
But we're also fucking human, and we experience things that are harder than most civilians experience because we're being trained and we're being put in harm's way, right? And I think not just take care of your troops and they'll whatever you were saying, PTSD, short-term memory bullshit. But
I got Ryan. I got you, man.
You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Like it's like they should be taking time to say to focus on mental health, right? Check-ins with the troops. Look for signs, right? If you got I was the top, I was a stud, a top machine gunner in my unit. Something fucking happened, and I went from first to worst over fucking night.
Yeah.
Back then we were pressing our camis every day because that was before they had the permacrease.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I went to morning formation with fucking baggy ass camis. Like that should have been a fucking sign, But they should be looking for signals. They should be spending more time encouraging people to talk to chaps, right? Talk to chaplain, talk to the psychiatrist or the therapist on base, or just checking in, right? It shouldn't be like a forced checklist where if you admit that there's anything wrong, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because I know we've had plenty of that pre-deployment checklists and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be more of an open conversation.
I look at this as okay. We talk negative about it, but something that's we can bring, as what Albert you said earlier about swinging the golf club, coming back up. Veterans helping veterans. One of the concepts that I'm throwing around here is the ability for veterans to take control of this suicide issue and develop some nonprofit, or even actually first, the goal would be to take all the nonprofits that can help veterans get the information out. Information is not getting out to these guys and gals. There's probably hundreds of nonprofits that could help veterans in many different states. But it's not getting out. Everybody focuses on the VA. That's my bread and butter. All right. I go to the VA. I'm a soldier, retired. I got out. I've got issues, but they don't realize that there's probably 2 or 3 nonprofits in their area that they can reach out to and help.
Probably 2 or 3 on. There's a ton.
Yeah. I'm trying to put a business plan together for a concept. It's I call it the Safe House. It'll be somewhat of a nonprofit, but it's designed to strategically place this ability in different states around where people can go to, concentration of veterans, big cities, small cities, whatever it may be. But the concept is to have a place 24/7, 365 for veterans that are thinking about committing suicide, or even going down that road, to where they can call, they have a problem, we go pick them up, we take them back. Obviously, it's all voluntary, and support them for 2-3 days or a week or so forth, till they get their shit back together, and then we actually help them, get on a good plan, either with the VA, or good path, either with the VA or some other nonprofit that can long term that can help them.
I just want to say fucking A on that. That's good shit.
It's just on the drawing board. Just as a concept. Yeah. That's it. But
someone's got to do it though.
Well, I just to piggyback off what you're saying, like there are it was for my process of getting my discharge from OTH to full honorable medical retirement. 100%. Get my veterans rating and everything. That whole process was about 8 or 9 years in total, right? And during that time, talking about like going and making shit happen versus letting things happen, I had to make shit happen, right? So I had to be my own best advocate, right? So I had to learn as much as I could about policies out there in place, right? What needs to go into VA claims, what other sort of things are out there, right? Other VSOs and other sort of things. And, I've come across a ton of different veteran organizations that are there to help vets, right? There's probably hundreds of them. And they're some are, city or state specific, like there's Swords to Plowshares, for example, which is San Francisco specific. There's some that are like much bigger, like there's this organization that actually this guy that sits on the board, he was an old flight mechanic, and he works for a private aviation company. You guys should talk. He's a good dude. But this company is called 220, and their whole thing is like trying to heal PTSD for free. They do it for veterans and family members of veterans, kind of thing. But they do that through like FaceTime, video chat kind of stuff. But there's tons of different things out there, but like it's almost impossible to sift through it all because you don't know what you're looking for. First of all, you know what it is. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But you got to know that you're looking for something first.
Yeah.
So like if you're just like floating out there in the abyss of like civilian world, hey, I'm fucking I miss the Corps, miss the Army, whatever. Fucking miss getting drunk with my boys or whatever the fuck, right? You don't even know that there's like stuff out there. You're not going to know to look. You're not going to know what to look for, right? Like there's got to be like this, almost like this umbrella, this umbrella thing, a guiding, something to guide and like say, hey guys, okay, you're out now. These are all these opportunities, these things that you can look into, not just fucking Legion. And again, I'm not talking shit about any of them. I'm a Legion member, right? I'm part of the American Legion. So I'm not talking not talking shit at anything. I'm actually, I'm proud of my service and all that shit too, right? But like, but there's a lot more out there than just say the Legion or the VFW or IAVA, right? There's organizations that focus on trying to heal PTSD. There's organizations that, there's tons of homeless veterans out there, right? There's organizations that try to get them out of homelessness. There's organizations that will, fight your discharge for free, right? Help you file claims for free, for some people that are like, financially strapped, right? For lack, the homeless population, for example. But there's a lot of organizations out there, Albert's included, that like do a lot of these things. But I think there's got to be something. There's got to be like, I don't know, like an umbrella company or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that Safe House is a great thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like that could be like, hey, you're grabbing somebody who is, suicide risk, and say, look, hey, dude, life sucks. We get it. Been there. Right. I know how you're feeling. There's help. There's hope. These are some of these things that you can look at. Right.
Yeah. It's like, Safe House is a triage center. It's not a long-term center. It's a triage full of all of those different avenues and different directions that you're talking about, Brian. Come in, get your shit together, get your head together. And then we'll focus on pointing you the right direction, getting you outside of the VA first, we're working on the VA on the side here. Yes, definitely. Because that's their benefits. But too many times people are waiting in line, waiting for a fucking an appointment.
Yep.
I call the VA. Well, we get you we can get you into mental health, but it's going to be 2 months from now. Are you kidding me? I need this now. So that's not going to work. So it's painful. The best part of this, Albert, and Brian, is that these podcasts, getting this information out. Brian and I and yourself have experienced a lot of these ups and downs, and we've gone through around doors, over doors, through doors. So having all this experience to help those in need, that's the most important part of this, what we're doing. So no matter what it is.
So my challenge to both of you guys too is get a podcast going. Just talk about your thing and get people to talk about their thing. It's the easiest way to get information out there. Even so, today I talked to one of my, he's a new client of mine, and he was one of my soldiers, going on 15 years ago in Afghanistan. And he was stop lost. He was a medic, so he was dust off medic, and he was stop lost and went on another deployment with us, and got out and then found the civilian world to not be as great as he thought it was going to be. Then he came back in because he didn't have a chance to decompress going from deployment, stop loss deployment to kicked out pretty much, no decompression. And then he came back in and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, but he's one of my newest clients, and even I said it to him this way. And he's a police officer now, but I even told him, I said, man, the guy who sent you to me was also one of our teammates from 15 years ago. And that guy was my first client, one of my very first ever clients. And I said, what took you so long to get here now? Because he obviously knew about me. And so my point back to you guys is another F that I want to save our veterans from is falling. So I want to save them from falling, but they have to fall a certain amount before they start even searching for help.
Yeah.
Or maybe, hopefully, that's why I call it the Fulfilled Veteran Project, not the, hey, let me help you up off your ass project. So I try to catch them, hopefully, before they even go down. I want to be able to go, hey, let me show you some videos or show you where your money is and that kind of stuff. And be able to stack up so many good videos, and you guys are out there too, to be able to go, oh shit, man, I'm getting out in a year, and I'm glad I get to know about this stuff. I'm glad I'm hearing Jerry talk about his 160th time and all that kind of stuff, and Ryan's trauma and stuff like that. Like, hey, I'm in the Corps right now, and I went from, like you said, hero to fucking zero because I rolled my ankle and I can't fucking go on this deployment or whatever. Or I didn't take a shot and I'm now out. So too many heroes are getting out, and they're superheroes, but the government's treating them like fucking supervillains. Yep. And I catch them as quickly as I can get my fucking hands around them and get them into positive and go, all right, let's push your service forwards. Let's get you out there to Hollywood so you can help produce some shit, or get you out on the East Coast with Jerry and do some cool shit with the FBI or whatever. And just get them moving forwards faster. Because you guys know this too. I was talking about my Ranger story. So I've got a Ranger who, he was probably E5, E6, making whatever, okay money in the service. And then he gets out and he goes directly to a big job with Amazon, and they're paying him like low six figures, but he went from making dog shit as a Ranger, eating fucking turds every day, to now he's out there making good money and able to go, hey babe, look at this, man, I can get a Mustang because I got a lot of zeros and a one in front of it and on my paycheck. And then you think that's going to make him happy, but it doesn't. So just like anybody, there's a life cycle. And Jerry was talking, I don't know if it was on camera or not, but talking about a job out there in Vegas, right? Like, what job was that? The tours, was a VIP. So like, this in the pilot world or civilian pilot world, VIP, you're a fucking limo driver in the sky. If you're flying tours, fucking tour guide for 8 hours a day, and most veterans don't like that shit. They'll go out there and do it for a time, but it's a life cycle. They know that a life cycle of a tour guide is going to be like, you got maybe 2 years out of them, anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. That's about it. And then they're on the other side of the bell curve and going, I'm done.
Yeah.
Same thing with VIP. Like, unless you just somehow fucking love that shit, which I doubt you do. So, but and here's my point back to you guys. At some point, some guy, any guy or gal out there goes, you know what? I want to do shit that I want to do. I always think back to the Leonard Skinner song, Simple Man, right?
Yeah.
Be a fucking simple man. Do the shit that you want to do. If it's beard oil, if it's producing videos, if it's being your local PD, I don't give a shit. Fucking do it. If you have a craft, do it. My craft is I get to talk to people. And
one of my hardest lessons and most important lessons that I learned, and I think I probably learned it around the time I was in China. But actually, the name of my company is 8B. It stands for 8 billion. As in, there's 8 billion people. Everyone's got a story. But like something that I discovered out there was really there's 8 billion people out there. So you can do whatever the fuck you want. Find out what you want to do. What do you love? What are you good at? Because people will pay you for that. You can make a career. You can make a life out of whatever the fuck you want to do. You know, and I think having a like that experience, having that understanding that you can do whatever you want to do is eye-opening, right? Because like then you can go, okay, well, I was in the infantry, or I was a ranger, or I was, helo pilot or whatever. Those things can be a part of you, but they don't necessarily have to define you anymore. Like you can, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean? So like,
I got something to add to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a helo pilot. I was a helo pilot in the Army, but guess what? I also really like fucking making baskets, right? Or what, you know what I mean? Underwater basket weaving, or what, you know what I mean? Like some bullshit, right? I also like fucking, trading baseball cards, or, I really like fucking this, that, what doesn't matter, right? Like you can be that and you can also be this, right? And neither of those things define you, but together they kind of make up part of who you are, right?
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is like having that realization that you can do whatever the fuck you want to do, and once you realize that, then the onus comes on you to, it's your responsibility. Once you realize you can do whatever you want, then you got to figure out what it is that you want to do, who it is that you want to be, and there's all sorts of things that can kind of start you along those paths, like the Myers-Briggs and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I talk about it all the time. It's funny because like I've been out for 20 something years. I was only in for 2 years, and I was still every day it's Marine this, Marine that, right? It's still fucking in my head.
Yeah.
But like I also have a realization that like, the Marine Corps was a part of me, but it does not define me, right? There's so many other things that you can do with your life, interests and experiences that you'll have in and out of service that doesn't have to be limited.
Brian, you said we talked about, I guess, let me add this word, labels. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, exactly what you said, how you have dealt with this, and that how people are labeled and they feel like they're labeled this way, but it doesn't define them. Right. It shouldn't define them, but in essence it does. I spent 4.5 years in combat, flying with my hair on fire, supporting tier 1 assets. And a lot of people don't realize this, but something that we had in World War II in the 40s that we don't have in modern day warfare right now. We had that 2 to 3 weeks of decompression on a ship moving through different countries to try to get home. Okay. We didn't have C-17s and C-5s like we do today. So let me share a story with you on how this actually jacked with me. So again, back to flying with our hair on fire in Iraq and Afghanistan. We come back from a night's mission, taxi the aircraft into parking. We know that our rotation is going to be that day. My bags are packed. Every crew chief's bags are packed. All of us are ready to go we're going home. So C-17 lands, we high-five the guys getting off the aircraft that are replacing us, move an aircraft in and out, in and out, for maintenance. And then we start our journey home. So it was, 5 hours to Germany, 4 hours on the ground, and then another 9-10 hours to Fort Campbell. And then, 2-3 hours later, I'm walking downtown Walmart, with no time to decompress. I remember I would sit in a restaurant with my wife, and I'd be looking around and I say, you know what? They have no fucking clue where I just came from, what I've been doing and what I had to deal with, and blood and guts and shooting and killing. And it wasn't until later, guys, that I realized I wasn't angry. It wasn't a feeling of anger that I was dealing with at that point. I didn't know this at the time, but it wasn't anger. It was envy. I was envious of them and their life and their families, and they're going to baseball games and going to high school events and football games that I didn't get to do.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized that something was wrong.
And that shit crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So labels, Marine, Army, Special Operator, Night Stalker, Medevac Pilot, Crew Chief. We all have these labels inside the military.
Mm-hmm.
Does that define us? I'm telling you from my experience that yes, it does when you're in that mode.
When you're in, because you have to be labeled when you're in, because that's how it
works. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But after, when you leave the military, when you leave that trauma, or when you leave that lifestyle, it takes a while, brother, to shed that and enjoy life. Try to enjoy life around you.
Well, I think one of you guys talked about it earlier, but I think one of the hardest things to realize when you get out is that nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody gives a shit about your service.
Yeah, no.
I mean, maybe they'll thank you for your service, but that's fucking bullshit. Nobody really cares. They all take it for granted, whatever. But nobody gives a fuck. Nobody knows where you've been. Nobody knows what you've done, and they really don't care. Like when I got out, I went right back to college. Right, went in. It was local school, University of Michigan. I went in and I'm like, I'm going through school and I'm doing the motions, and I'm getting involved in different organizations and stuff like that, and nobody gave a fuck.
No,
they just do a party, dude.
They don't
party and get their degree and make their money or whatever, right?
But Brian, when you're in, oh, they love you.
Oh yeah.
They'll pin medals on your chest.
Oh yeah.
They'll pat you on the back and call you Superman.
Yep.
And then Jerry who?
Yep.
Brian who? Albert who?
Yep.
Once you're gone.
Oh shit. Even when you get out, good luck. Good luck keeping up with any of them. You might keep up with the people there, but like I said, I've been out for 20 years, and I think I'm still in touch with maybe one guy from my unit, right? And he just happened to be my boy, right? But so there's some of that too, right? Like it's like when you're in, it's important. Those labels are important. They'll give you the medals, they'll give you the ribbons, they'll give you the rankings and all that stuff. But once you're out.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I can add to that. I have to correct something. My father was 26 year vet. I was a 24-year vet. Mm-hmm. But even after 24 years of active duty, Night Stalker buddies, I've probably got 2 or 3 that I keep in contact with.
Yeah.
Everybody just we were brothers. We looked out for each other when we were doing the deed.
Yep.
But afterwards, everybody just went their own way.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, like the esprit de corps runs deep, like whenever I run across another Marine, instant bros. Whenever I run across another veteran, like instant connection, right? Instant bond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you give the back hug and the backpack. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I got a buddy coming over right now. We didn't serve together, but he was Marines, right? He's coming over in a couple hours, and I'm gonna help him out with his VA claim because he needs some assistance, right? I don't do those things. I'm just helping him out because he's a fucking Marine and he needs some help,
Exactly.
So there's plenty of that, right? Like the immediate bonding and all that stuff. But but again, I think to the points that we're addressing is once you're out, you're you're as anonymous as you want to be, or whatever, right? Like nobody knows who you are and nobody knows what you've done because, frankly, things are, pretty much held as government secrets because, if they knew, because if people knew everything that the government had, our young men and women doing, they'd probably lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Not everything's for the civilians to know about, but that also has its, its collateral impacts, I suppose. I'm gonna fill up really quick. Cool.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I told you this stuff goes by fast. I feel like I barely talked, and we're almost at an hour.
All right.
And it goes by so fast. Just can't help it.
Yeah. Albert, how many podcasts do you do?
So I do. I've got it on my calendar twice a week for 2 hours each.
Okay.
So, yeah. I've got 2 podcasts. This one that I do once a month for the What the Fuck VA one, straight up on, I don't want to say it's primarily on Rumble because YouTube would kick us off very fast. But and then the other one is the Fulfilled Veteran podcast. So you guys need to get on that one too, so we can talk about that because that's where I really push a lot of the guys. Keep moving your passion forwards. It's not your service forwards because we've already identified that you're not who you were. You're not your chest candy anymore. But you still are you. So move your service forwards. And usually a lot of those people who do anything that's worth a shit is really based off their own passion, which is based off of pain. Like I want to help Albert from 5-10 years ago. And you want to help Brian from 5 or 10 years ago. And Jerry from 5
I'm trying to help Brian from 10 years in the future, man. I'm trying to get you there.
Right? Yep.
God, I wish I could help Brian from fucking 20 years. Jesus Christ, dude. I was a fucking. I'm still a mess, but I've learned how to manage. Recognize my symptoms and manage them to somewhat of a degree. But
I got you. The for another aspect of this and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, is that during the process of healing after the military, after retirement, after we got out. There was still my go-to drug was alcohol. Mm-hmm. So alcohol was a nemesis of mine. And I had a buddy that he was an Air Force pilot, Black Hawk guy, drank himself to death. So alcohol was in my world, alcohol was the biggest drug of choice for PTSD, for people to try to move away from their mental drama.
Not a stereotype of Marines at all either. We were definitely not alcohol. We were fucking born in a bar. Dude.
Yeah.
Sun Tavern, baby.
But it took me probably 7-8 years to finally move back to a more of a social drinker. To where I have a beer every once now and then. The hard liquor I stay away from because I drink it and it makes me feel like shit. But for your viewers that are struggling with dependence, whether it be drugs or alcohol, there is help out there, and you can pull yourself out of this. When you hit rock bottom, you'll know it. And that's the point where you want to reach out or even try to reach out before that. But I just wanted to pass that to your viewers, Albert. So.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's what even maybe shame on me too, is that I forget that I don't have an addicted personality. So if I eat like once a day and I'll go to a bar, local bar. They know what they love me there. And I'll eat steak and eggs. I eat once a day, and I'll have a margarita there at the countertop. I like things that are very well prepared, so like chefed up. You know what I mean? So I have no problem saying that. But at the same time, I don't have that dependence. My brother did, and that's why he got murdered, and weird love triangle issue out there in California, and his murderer is now in prison. But
Jesus Christ.
What are you going to do? So you just got to keep moving forwards. And again, I forget the conversations that I have with people and how much I know Jerry and how much I know Brian. And that's why I want to get you guys out in front of each other and out in front of everybody else too, to be able to say your angles, your pieces, your vision, your experiences. And I mean, I'm wondering too, like, I know Dan Bongino has a line where he goes, you know, Republicans may not be the cure for all your problems, but at least Democrats are the ones who did all of the shit, kind of a thing. And I wonder with the veteran community that I think we as veterans are our own saviors from within ourselves and within, but we can't do it alone. I can't do it by myself. We have to be a group. I call it puppy videos. If I'm just here by myself and I'm just talking like Dan Bongino, I probably couldn't do that. I probably can't function. But I can talk to you guys and I can bullshit with you and say fuck a lot. So that's why if I don't have a guest or if a guest has to cancel, I just cancel. I'm like, I'm not going to fucking Dan Bongino this and tell you the news. I don't do that. Yep. So good on Dan Bongino for being able to do that shit. I can't. I have to have another human look at me in that.
Yeah.
Us sharing stories, and I call it puppy videos. Once we start talking, like I said, an hour's already gone by, and I told you guys at the beginning, we're going to be leaning in, going, "Oh my God, this is a." We always do that. We always end up leaning in, going, "Oh, you're fucking right, man. It should be this way." So again, we are our own savior from within ourselves, but also we have to be together in order for that to work. And to, my point being, I think we are our own cure.
You have to be.
So
I think, are you guys familiar with Jocko Willink?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, right? He was a Navy SEAL commander. I think he was SEAL Team 6 guy. He's written a bunch of books and shit. He's buddies with Joe Rogan. He's got a big podcast and stuff like that. He wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. I think that's what it's called. But he talks about taking ownership of your life and things like that. And he's just one. I haven't read the book, so I can't, I don't want to quote anything out of there. But one thing that he has said that stuck with me is no one's coming to save you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take ownership. You can't sit around and wait. Like I said, this buddy of mine that's coming in a couple hours, I was talking to him the other day. I'm like, dude, he put in an intent to file for a VA claim May of last year, right?
Oh shit. Yeah.
He has not submitted it yet. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, what's the holdup? Like, at least this could be a couple $1,000 that you're missing out on. At most, it could be 40, 50 grand that you're missing out.
Send him to me, please, so I can at least give him something to go off of.
Well, so
30-day period, but
this is like fucking 2 weeks, right? You got 2 weeks to get his shit together and put something in, right? But so I'm asking him, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what's taking so long?
Uh-huh.
And PTSD, there's a lot of avoidance involved and shit like that, right? So like, but he's like, oh well, I've been trying to get some appointments set up, and the doctors are slow, and I'm waiting on the doctors. I'm like, and I went to this VSO, and they're kind of, I called them up and nobody answered, and I'm like, dude, come the fuck over here. I'm gonna sit down with you and go through this fucking shit, because you get this shit in, dude. No one's coming to save you.
Yeah, period. Good for you, Brian. Good for you.
I'll say for him, aim for something easy, like the usual stuff: neck, back, shoulder, right shoulder. I mean, he'll probably get denied or lowballed big time.
He was a crew chief, man. He was a fucking helicopter crew chief. Mm-hmm. He went to SEER school. He's got shit that he's fucked up from. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about fucked up. That's healthcare.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like he went in. So I mean, really, the thing with the VA, like, not to get on this little soapbox, but the thing that drives me crazy is like so many people, like the VA stuff is, everyone's like, disability. It's disability. It's disability. It's not fucking disability. It's called compensation and pension. It's workers' comp, right? The government goes through fucking leaps and bounds to make sure that you're 100% whole human inside and out when you're coming in. And if you go out less than whole, they need to pay you for that. It's workers' comp. It's not fucking disability, right? We throw around this term disability, but even on the VA website, even when you get examined, you put in a claim, what is it? It's a CMP exam. It's not a disability exam. It's compensation and pension. And I think a lot of people get fucked up with that. And they're like, oh, well, I'm not disabled. I'm not missing a leg, or, my buddy lost a leg. You got it worse off. It's not about that. It's about you went in whole and you didn't come out whole. Period.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a government psyop against veterans, though, didn't it?
Sure fucking works.
Brian, when I fell into that trap because when I first retired, I did my exit physical, waiting for the VA to tell me what they're going to do and provide that rating that we all looking for. So initially, I received a 70%, and my first contract position. I worked with a retired sergeant major Vietnam guy. He was 100% disabled, obviously. But he's walking around fine, everything. I mean, outwardly, again, this is my ignorance back then. So outwardly, he looked fine. Talking to him, mentally stable, strong man. Looked for him as a mentor and get some guidance with this new life of mine, the civilian world. We call this civilian world. But I felt guilty at 70% because, okay, again, what do? We don't report our issues. We don't report our injuries. We don't want to go to the medics. And just, I took that out with me into the world, and I felt guilty. And I went to him and I said, how did you deal with that over these years? I said, do you have any serious disabilities, injuries? I wanted an answer to help me in my brain, the way it was thinking. And he told me, he said, Jerry, he said, listen, this is not for you right now. This is for you when you're 65, when you're 70, when you're 80 years old. The government owes that to you. You guys said it correctly. It's like we went in whole because they make sure that we are whole when we go in. But when we come out, we're not that way. So,
well, and even sometimes things will take years to show themselves, right? Like I've got physical injuries that I'm dealing with now. Like I've got they took an MRI on my neck, and I had, like shoulder and sciatica pain for like over a fucking year. And so they took MRIs on that, and my doctor's like, "Oh, well, your discs are, wearing away, degenerating, or whatever it is, right? I think it's called like degenerative disc disease or something like that." And guess what? That's probably from fucking humping around, from rucking in the Marines, right? 20 years ago. But like it started showing up like a year ago. You know what I mean? Like so sometimes there's things that like may not show up for a while, or with the or like the PTSD stuff, like, I mean, I had it because I was in the process of a med board, right? Like we knew my unit knew about the event and all that other stuff, right? So that was diagnosed. But like once I got out, I dealt with it myself for almost 20 fucking years, right? Because I was avoiding it, or I was avoiding my service or whatever else. But like sometimes it takes a while for injuries, for your physical or mental health issues to show up. Sometimes it takes a while for you to face them, right? And realize that, look, this is something that handled, and this is probably because of this in the service.
Still goes back to the individual accountability. The government say is against you, and then I need to have some historian out there find out when were all these processes put into place. Because I was in law school for a semester, so in law school they talked about when you ever see a law that just doesn't make sense, the words sound weird. It's like, it sounds like they had a meeting and said, we're going to put these words in here, we're not going to have those other words in here. And that's what they said. They said, yeah, that's what the government does, or any entity does, is let's have a meeting of what words are going to stay and what words are going to go. So that's on purpose. I would love to have there's a nerd out there that knows all about this history of VA or history of government fucking over their troops. I would certainly love to know them, because I want to know where that's happening. But that's a side story. Going back to the individual has to be accountable of just know what, I like that Jerry said it this way. The government works very hard to make sure that you're fine-tooth comb coming in as a whole human. I was denied multiple times. It took me 3 more months than what I wanted to because I had surgeries when I was a baby, and they're like, no. And that was late 90s and stuff like that. So if they work that hard, the government works that hard to validate and verify that you are a whole human coming in, they should work that hard on the backside. They do not. Why don't they? Because they don't fucking want to. Go back to Dan Bongino's line. They don't fucking want to. If they wanted to, they would. They don't want to. Now, I'm here every single day. I put my fucking armor on every single day to be out in front of you guys to say, I care enough to be here today and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow after that. That's why Jerry knows me for a couple of years now and knows that I'm going to be here tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow after that. You either got to fucking kill me or, I mean, you can't overpay me. Yeah. You give me $1 billion, I'm going to have 1 billion more fucking problems. I guarantee it. But that, right? So I'm not big enough to take over the government and go, hey, VA, you've been fucking veterans, unfuck them. I don't have that power. So it's like, what do we do? You just have to now go back down to the individual level and go, okay, which, by the way, there's a book behind my head that you can't see, but I thought that was going to be the first book about how to be a superhero of your own life. And that's now going to be the second book. So it goes, okay, accountability, who are you within yourself? The next book after that is going to be about teams, small teams doing great things. It has to go back to the beginning again. And this is what I learned in SEER school is bring things in and go, okay, when you're in the fucking muck, you have to bring it in and go, okay, what do I need right now? I need air, I need water, I need food, and then I kind of need to know where my buddies are, my teammates, and where am I in space and time in the globe, and where am I? What do I need to do next after that? So if I can bring it into individual, like Brian said earlier, you have to first know. You don't know what you don't know. Well, now you know that I'm here to help you. So then you go, okay, you mean that big check that's been over his shoulder is mine the whole time? Yeah. So, all right, how do you get there? You have to make that first phone call. That's why I talk about personalities all the time. So when I talk about payment plans or payment options, it's based off personalities. I'm not selling you anything. Your money is right fucking there, and it's always on the other side of, I always do this. I always have that. Well,
just got to reach out and grab that fucking bag, man.
In order to get to your money, which is over there, you have to get through fucking paperwork. Yay, believe it or not, has paperwork that has all kinds of trapdoors in them. And one of the biggest examples is with headaches. So a person could, I see this all the time on social media, Reddit, and all that kind of stuff there, that veterans are complaining about, well, I've had migraines for years, and Dr. So-and-so has me on these medications, and then the doctor, blah, blah, blah. Crazy medications. And I'm not a doctor, so I don't know all those things. That's not my job. But then they'll talk about what kind of pain they're in, how long they've had it. But then there's a trapdoor question down here at the bottom of this little form. And that form says something, and these are pictures from social media that veterans are putting out there asking for help and guidance. And they're getting the actual worst, quote, help and guidance, which I'll talk about next. There's a little trapdoor question down here that asks about another level of time. Well, in order to qualify for 50% for headaches, you have to answer this trapdoor correctly, and that trapdoor, and that trapdoor. Yeah. These are more obvious, or you think these are more obvious because they're first. You have a doctor, a diagnosis, and are you on pills, severe medical pills, and what kind of severe pain are you in? And a little trapdoor down here talks about time. How often do you have these headaches, or how long do these headaches last? Yeah. If you walk down less than 1 day, you are now fucking yourself out of all. Your money's gone. You're going to get 0%, and then the other bad information out there, guidance, if I can say it that way, that veterans are trying to give each other is, well, you're on medication, go appeal that. Go get a lawyer and appeal that. That's exactly what the government wants. Jerry, you and I are former pilots and pilots. What's it called when you're slowly crashing? What's that called?
Auto
fucking death spiral. You're in the goddamn death spiral.
Yep.
The government's going, motherfucker, you ain't going nowhere. I got your ass. The government has your fucking ass. If you think I'm fucking bullshitting you,
Well,
I get paid. Brian gets paid because he helped himself. I helped Jerry get paid. So my point is, if you ain't getting fucking paid, you're getting fucked.
but it's not only fucking the person that isn't getting paid. It's plugging up the system. It's fucking everybody else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like this should be so easy and straightforward, right? It should be, when you get out, here's a list of all these different things that you can do, VA claims and this, this organization and that, whatever else.
Yeah.
It should just be, the VA claim process should be so fucking simple. It should just be like, this is it. Okay. What did you do? Boom, boom, boom. It should be just checkbox, right? Just real quick and easy.
Again,
cool.
why
and your claim is decided in like a month, right?
Why
It
they're
should be
trapdoor
fucking
questions?
easy. Instead, you got to have, VSOs and lawyers and, coaches and things like that to fucking help these people out, because nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. The government doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, but, and so because of that, and the Raiders, the Raiders half the time don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? So like, you've got all these people that are just kind of floating around, not knowing what the fuck's going on. Yeah, it plugs up the system, it slows it down, bogs it down, and people get fucked.
You know what I think it's
the government saves money.
I think the government I think when the government signed into action, whatever kind of order or law, whatever the fuck you want to call that crap, whenever the government said, hey, this is what we're going to do to veterans, starting that death spiral, I think that's what it was. I think they said, hey, you know what? We don't have big wars anymore like World War I and World War II. And all these people are dying. I think that's honestly, that's my belief. Believe me, do whatever you want. But I think it's the government against us going, hey, you know what? I bet let's see how far we can push Jerry before he fucking jumps off the building.
Feels that way sometimes.
Back then, you're right, man. You're right. When I remember when I put in my retirement paperwork, obviously you request retirement, you say, hey, I want to retire. It goes to PERSCOM. PERSCOM says, okay, stamp you got 1 year. They keep you on active duty for 1 year during that time period. So I remember going into a out processing station on Fort Campbell that I was herded over to an advocate. They said, hey, for the VA, you have to have an advocate. So I thought, okay, well, they said, and the American Legion is your advocate. So go over here to the American Legion booth and talk to them. So went there, filled out the paperwork for my physicals. And they asked me two questions. One, do you want the military to do your physicals, all your exit physicals, or do you want the civilian sector to do all your physicals? Foot stomp, head, I'll ask you that again. Do you want the civilian side to do your physicals? Head, foot stomp. So I'll never forget that. It was just, so anyway, I did all my physicals with the civilian doctors on the outside. Later on, I found out that the medical side, they're not necessarily there to help you in your retirement and your goals with the VA.
If I can piggyback off that story and launch even further one. One of my clients is the former CEO of AMVETS. AMVETS is an organization that's been around since 1944. And so that's why you guys are out there listening are probably familiar with it. And you may think, okay, no big deal. So some CEO, whatever, of some organization goes to Albert, and actually his wife is a client of mine too. But he's so connected in Tampa area that he sent me my 2-star Green Beret, who is also my client. And what does it have to take? Like, if he's that connected to a 2-star Green Beret, who do you think that guy was? and as to be a former CEO of AMVETS. And he's my client. His wife's my client. His 2-star Green Beret buddy is my client. They've sent me other people up to, that's how Delta guys come to me, and SEAL Team 6 comes to me, and Delta dudes, and MARSOC, the guy who stood up MARSOC, is my client. It's insane, the dudes that come to me and gals come to me. The best of the best around the world come to me through word of mouth. My point in saying all that is, if it's that hard for them because the government just doesn't give a shit, it is in triplicate difficult to everybody else. And every now and then I'll get, like even just in the past 2 weeks, I've had a woman who got on my calendar, but it wasn't for her. It was for her dad, who's retired, or not retired. He's a guy from Vietnam. And he's now getting old enough to where he had like a stroke or something like that. I'm not saying things aren't looking good, but just things aren't as good as they used to be. You know what I mean? Another guy came to me in the past couple of weeks, and he is turning 80 soon and was drafted right out of college to go to Vietnam. So if it's this hard on those guys, I mean, and a Vietnam era guy doesn't know how to fill out this. You know, he's used to paper and pencil and mail and shit like that. You know, somebody in the 80s and 90s may know about fax machines, but you say fax machine to somebody who is now 20 years old and is also my client, they think you're talking about FACTS, like a fact check. Like, oh, this is a truth checking machine? Is that what you're saying? What's this fax machine thing? What's this? They're misspelling this word facts. It's supposed to be FACT, whatever. It's insane, man. So that's why I call it the rotisserie of fuckery. That the government just always wants to fuck with you. If they wanted to pay you, they would. It's as simple as fucking that.
I would just say, you're talking about old Vietnam vets and stuff like that, filling out claims, and on the positive side of things, it's never too late, right? Like I've heard a number of times that the best time to file a VA claim is the day you get out. The second best time is today.
Yeah.
Right. It's never too late. I've seen, in various like Reddit feeds and stuff, I've seen people out 30, 40 years file their claims and get their benefits. Right. So it's never too late. I got my VA benefits. I filed my claim fucking 14 years after I got out, or the one that was eventually successful. It took me a couple of tries, but
what's funny about my clients? Most of them, at least once a day, somebody's on my calendar that's on their birthday or very close, amazingly close to their birthday. So that's their time of year to be selfish or self-focused, if I can call it that. Focus on yourself. Know that you're only old. There's no time machine's gonna make all the things go away or bring your money back. But like Brian said, today is the best day.
Well, but the other thing to that is just, is like, again, there are certain, there are monies that you could be missing out on, right? For example, like if you get out, like from the minute you get out, you have like a year or something like that whatever it is, that they'll give you back pay, right? But once, if you wait, more than that amount of time, then whenever it is that you submit that intent to file, that's your effective date for back pay. Like for me, when my successful claim, my effective date was 14 years after service. Right. I'm 100%. Right. So just think about all that compensation that I missed out on. Talking 14 years, you're talking close to $500,000. Like no shit.
Yeah.
I could use that money. I would love to have a house. I'm renting, right? I'd love to own a house. I could do that. I could have done that with that money, but I missed out on it because
when you're in California too, so property taxes now and all that stuff like that. That's why my clients mostly come to me, is because they're making pretty good money and they're living in Texas, California, Florida, stuff like that, and even Nebraska. I've got I don't know how many people are in Nebraska, but I think all the veterans are now my clients.
Well, there's a number of
they're like, oh, Nebraska spends about $1,000 a month on property taxes.
And not to like get people, not to encourage people to like say, hey, 100% is the goal, right? Like your goal should be whatever you're, reflective of reality, right?
I will say it this way. It's not disability. It is what the money that you've earned, and all veterans, whether you serve months, years, decades, it doesn't fucking matter. You've earned all that money. You've earned that 100%. You've earned that for your. That's your money. That Siri's money is his. My money is mine. Brian's money is his.
The point that I'm making though is that if you hit that 100%, 100% P&T, TDIU, whatever it takes to get there.
Don't do that.
It opens.
Let's stay away from the unemployable. Good God.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, it opens up a whole nother door, right? So, like, I think there's like 17 states that if you're 100%, and you own property, you don't pay property tax. California has a portion of it has a waiver, like the first like $150,000 or something like that of assessed home values, that property tax is waived. But like Texas, Florida, probably Nebraska. You know, there's a number of
Virginia, Maryland. Yep.
Yeah, there's a number of states where if you have a disability, if you have a rating, or you're 100%, or, you know, there's something along those lines. I think it's mostly 100%, but like, you know, you can own a house and that property tax is waived, right? Like, who else can get that? Nobody gets that.
Yeah. Well, I look at it this way. After I was able to get over my problem with feeling regret that I was 70%, and, you know, reached out to Albert to work eventually, after a year of working this, it came out great. But I look at this now as, you know, I fucking did 24 years hard labor for this government. Hard labor, mentally destroyed after, you know, all that time in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't have that regret anymore.
You're right.
The other thing, Albert, just to transition somewhere else here, reaching out. I don't know if you've experienced this before in some of with your clients, but I reach out to a couple of guys I work with, veterans. Yeah, you know, ask them, hey, how's their VA disability? How's their VA? What's the rating? Blah blah blah. And I think a lot of them, actually, they bring this. All of them have brought this question up. It's like, well, it's been probably 10 years since I've had my rating, and I don't know. I said, why don't you have her, you know, rechecked? You know, reach out to Albert. He's going to give you a good assessment on where you need to go. And they say, well, I don't want to bring the light on me and my case, because I don't want him to look at this and say, well, oh, he's gotten better, so we're gonna drop you. Yeah.
All the time.
So a lot of them are worried about that, especially the guys.
Don't talk to me anyway, because them talking to me is just, again, knowledge base of, like, because that's all I do is get people not only to 100, but past that, for multiple reasons of stability, because I'm the veteran money strategist, not just VA money. We have to go through the VA first. They're the main gatekeeper. And then once you're 100% like me and these other guys here, that's when you start getting state level property taxes. And I want to be your first phone call, so that, hey, I moved from here to here. What's that mean for me and my kids? My kids are heading into college now. What does that mean? Because all of our GWAT era guys like me, I've got 5 kids. My oldest just turned 18 last week. What does that mean? He's heading into college. He's already been accepted and that sort of thing for the fall. What does that mean? I know what it means. I will tell you what it means. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds in this call, in this event here, but it means crazy level of money. Like, you're not paying tuition for your kids. Not only that, that's state level. Federal level is you get paid $1,400 a month stipend for your kids to go to college. You get paid for your kids to go to fucking college.
Yep.
Why? Because your ass paid for it already. Your service paid for that. My service paid for my kids. Jerry paid for his family.
Too. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, like, I just think about, like, I mean, I can speak for California, but I think about, like, you know, well, 100%. So my student loans were all waived. You know, it saved me over $100,000 in student loans.
Yep.
My undergrad and business school loans fucking gone.
Yep.
Right. That was like, you know, $800,000 a month payment that I had to make. It's gone. Right. So that's an instant extra $800,000 a month in my pocket. But also, like, in California, your spouses or any of your dependents can go to college, any public university, for free. That means, like, UCLA, Berkeley, right? Cal Berkeley. Those are public California universities, you know, top 3, top 5 in the country. But they can go to college for free. Your children can go for free, tuition free, right? Plus, you, like you're saying, at the federal level, you can get that stipend. You know, what is it, Chapter 31 benefits or something
Chapter
like that?
35.
Chapter 35. Yeah.
But there's one question here. I'm sorry to jump in, Brian, but one question: can veterans that are 100% P&T, can they use your Chapter 35 and Chapter 33 at the same time and benefit from both, or not?
Yeah, there's ways of doing that, and some can, like, usually they'll say, okay, GI Bill versus something else, and the GI Bills for every veteran who paid into it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Pre 9/11, post 9/11, all that kind of stuff. And there are times where the government says you can't stack, but in most cases you can. So can you have GI Bill, voc rehab, be a retiree, et cetera, et cetera? Yes. Now you may have to make a choice of when your kids are in school. Like I'll give you an example. When you're 100% like me, every kid of yours is what's called $100 a month. When your kid goes to college, the government goes, okay, you can't double stack on this one. So either do you want $300 a month stipend for your kid in college or a $1,400 a month stipend? Which one do you want? And everybody goes, well, I want $1,400. Okay, that's chapter 35. So we will stop paying you for your kid being a kid. We're going to pay you veteran for your kid to be in college. Chapter 35. Okay. So that is one of the times where you can't double stack.
Gotcha.
All other ones, yeah. Or not say all other ones, but I mean, it's going to be case by case, but it's dependent. And sometimes it'll go even further. So like I've got the MARSOC guy who he and I have the same master's degree in leadership. And we were joking with each other about this on a phone call I had with him out in my backyard. And I remember this so vividly because he's a MARSOC dude who was denied for a PhD for voc rehab to pay for it. It's not called voc rehab anymore. It's VRE, but go down this. Voc rehab. Anyhow, so he was denied straight to his fucking face by some little shit at they call it the VBA. So like anything dealing with like veteran business money is going to be the VBA or whatever the fuck they call it. So it's not the VA hospital, but it is still like education benefits. They're like, oh no, go fuck yourself, MARSOC dude. You can't get a PhD. And I told him the same thing I'm telling everybody right now. You're going to hear no a lot. You're going to hear no more than an ugly fucking stripper. So I'm just saying, you have to move past that. You're going to be told no. You have to move past it. I was told no for 3 times. My third time was a charm for getting voc rehab.
Right.
Like, you're going to be fucking told no by the way. Weird. And that's why I'm here the whole time to kind of give you a little shoulder rub and go, all right, get back in the ring, man. Get back in there.
Yep.
So, but I definitely want to swing things. I told you guys, we'll get to this last half hour and things are like crazy. So, but I definitely want to swing it back to Jerry on something that I know Jerry's got a great idea, and I want to get you in contact with another client of mine who is out of Tampa. He does government contracting with SOCOM, and he won a $5 billion bid last March. And so he's always out there somewhere, and he and his son are both my clients. And so my point in telling you that is because you and I know this, and all of us know this, that especially our special operators, our tier 1, tier 2 level people, they need to know that there's actually true help out there. They need to know.
Yeah.
They don't know. And they need to have a filtration or a funnel of like, hey, Jerry's, let's call it nonprofit, funnels these people. Like, here's some good apples, here's bad apples, that kind of stuff. Because are there good people in bad systems? Of course there are. But good people in bad systems don't last forever. You're still in a bad system. That good person is going to go somewhere else and go do something else better because they're going to realize that too. So I acknowledge that, but that's why you have to have on the open system, whether it's a profit or nonprofit, that somebody like Jerry goes, you know what? Yeah, here is a good funnel. We kind of like a BBB, right? Better Business Bureau. You have to have some other checks and balances out there. If you're going to work with profits or nonprofits or whatever that's not government entity, you have to, if you truly want to help and actually deliver help fast, which I believe that's what we're here to do, you just have to be able to shoot, move, communicate, and be able to. That's what I like about the Triple B is that they always talk about be truthful and be swift. Within 3 to 5 days, you have to respond to an inquiry or a complaint.
Yeah.
And it's all public information. So like if somebody complains about me on the BBB website, that's fine. I will respond back to it in compliance with that. And I'm working with BBB right now for me to be accredited through them. And that's BBB accreditation, not VA accreditation for you people out there who are going, is Albert accredited? I'm not trying to be accredited with the VA. I'm not a representative. If I tell you to do your taxes, Jerry, does that mean that I am a CPA or a fucking tax attorney? It does not. I'm a consultant. I have wisdom. So anyhow, that's what I get paid for. But back to Jerry, that I need to get you in contact with my guy at Tampa, and
yeah, definitely.
He's like, hey man, I've got a lot of money that could go to a profit or a nonprofit that's doing good shit. They're making so much money they can be able to deliver that and help you get off the ground. And I would highly recommend Jerry and Brian that you guys both get on my other podcast and just keep getting on there for refreshers, man. How's things going? How's things going? Because I've got two menu items, two types of menus. I've got one that's focused on veteran money, and then that's what you and Jerry and I went through together. And then I've got another one that's about building your empire as a veteran. So for profits, nonprofits, it's what's funny is, going back to a term that Jerry and I talk about a lot, is burnout. There's so many good people out there that are just spinning their wheels that they get burnt out, and they feel like they're not delivering. And Jerry and I talked about this in the past, and off communication, I'm not going to talk too much about, but that there are so many entities out there that are saying, oh, we're doing good things. Even my son, he's now 18, but he was 16 when he saw this. My son went with me to a veteran event, and it was like a tabling event. So there's all these profits and nonprofits helping veterans. And we walked out of the room, and my son goes, I'm confused. And I said, okay, tell me, what's up? And he says, well, Dad, there's 7 organizations in this one room talking about helping veterans who are homeless. And he says, you walk out of the building, and there's homeless fucking people right outside of that fucking building.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, why do we have 7 organizations who have in their mission statement, blah, 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 helping veterans or homeless? And then you walk out of that building and there's fucking homeless people right there.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm with you. That's why I own my own company. I don't answer to anybody other than my own paying clients. Like I said, if I had $1 billion in my bank account, I'd have people suing me for $1 trillion dollars. I don't know, because I'm on the open fucking market. So, you know, President Trump or John, or not John, but many other podcasters out there. I say what I say, I do what I do, and I'll be here tomorrow, and I'll be here tomorrow after that. I've proven that. I've helped guys like Jerry get to where he is. I will be here tomorrow and a year after that, because I can't be fucking bought. You can only kill me, and all that does is make me stronger even then. So I've got Jesus, and I'm good. So anyway. But Jerry or Brian, thoughts on the whole getting you guys connected with Mr. 5 billion?
I mean, I'm always open to money bags. my business is pretty capital intensive, so yeah. I think bigger than that, though. I mean, I think, you know, fucking A, I'd love to be connected to them, but I think one of the bigger things, and this is something that a skill that I've developed over the years post service, in undergrad, grad school, my business career, you know, and it's played well in what I'm doing now, you know, as a writer and producer. But it's really about networking, you know, it's meeting people and making connections, you know, like, you know, Jerry's, you know, he says, oh, I was, you know, a helicopter pilot, whatever. I'm like, shit, I know at least 3 other people that were military air wing, something or other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a friend of mine. She was an intel officer in the Army. She's one of the first females to lead troops into a battle or in Afghanistan. But her husband was a special ops helo, chopper pilot, right?
Okay.
You guys might even float around.
You probably know him.
Yeah, you probably know him. And I got that buddy I was talking about, that 22-0. You know, he was a helo chief mechanic or something like that, right? Got another buddy who was what the fuck did he fly? Maybe fighter jets or something. But you know, he lives out here in LA, and I think he's a pilot for like one of the big airlines or something. But like, he's also like an investor in things, you know. I got a buddy who was you're talking about 2-star Green Beret. I got a buddy who was a retired Lieutenant Colonel Green Beret. You know, he's a Green Beret.
Send all these people to me. Get them on my podcast.
He was a Green Beret officer for 30 years. He's fucking awesome. I mean, this dude, shit, man. Kenya. So we're working on I don't know if I mentioned it before.
Kenya, yeah.
while we're talking or if it was before we started, but like, one of the projects that we're working on is, we're exploring different warrior cultures around the world, and looking at the rituals and ceremonies that they perform on the warriors when they return from battle, right? So we're looking at like alternatives to like, VA approved therapies essentially, right? Like looking at what's been happening throughout history. This dude called me up like a year and a half ago. I hadn't talked to him in like 3 years. He's like, hey, what's going on? Let's catch up. What are you up to? I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about this, this idea. He's like, have you thought about Kenya? Like the Maasai? And I'm like, dude, that's like top 3 on my list. He's like, oh, I'm going there tomorrow. I'll be there for like 2-3 weeks. You want me to talk to him? Fucking A. This guy just like fucking jumped out of the weeds, said, hey, what's up? Let me make your shit happen, And now I've been talking to these Kenyan warriors for a fucking year, and we're getting ready to head over there for, participate and, document one of these ceremonies, right? Like, but like the networking thing, that's the whole thing I'm talking about. Is like the networking thing is really, really where it happens. Whether it's trying to figure out how to get your veteran money, whether it's trying to figure out how to build your empire, like you've got to know yourself and know what you want to do. Find your passion, whatever it is, find your purpose. But then you've also got to, kind of like you were talking about, Albert, with the SEER school stuff, right? Like, know yourself, know your surroundings, and then where's my team at, right? Like you got to, and that's where the networking comes in. Because there's plenty of people out there that can help you make your dreams come true. You just got to know what the fuck they are. And
Albert, from my foxhole, it's, definitely, I've talked to a couple guys here in DC that are connected with a few nonprofits, pitched in my concept. He said, yes, definitely. Let's get together. But I have not found a direction yet, and obviously I can't do this by myself. But I'm very passionate about it. Like I said, we're all self-starters. We make things happen. I can't remember. I still, every time I say that, man, I think about that CEO. Oh, you gotta let things happen here in the civilian world. But
not with us, though. That's what's weird, right? You just go, nah.
What? You said that was in Vegas, right?
Yes.
Can I ask you what company that was?
I don't remember, brother. I wish I could.
I'm just curious because I lived in Vegas for 3 years, and one of my best friends, he's still there. He was a finance director for Sands Aviation. So he was responsible. So Sands is owned by the Adelsons, right?
Okay.
And all the big money. But he was the finance director for their aviation wing in Vegas. Yeah. And he's like, dude, the money that Adelson's kids spend on fucking jets is like insane. But that could have been like a weird intersect,
Yeah.
But again, it's the whole thing about reaching out to people and networking and, finding the connections, right?
Definitely.
But that's so, when you're talking about like, the safe house concept, right? Like there's, like I said, that sounds like a great idea. And, there's a lot of people out there. I think you can find the right people.
Yeah.
I think you can find the right people to make it happen, both, from a financial perspective, but also operationally, right?
Operationally, being able to scale this thing, being able to, guide the whole process.
Somebody you need to talk to.
I'm more of a
Jerry. Look into Elite Meat. If you haven't heard of them, Elite Meat, started by Navy SEAL.
Is that like tier 1 steaks or?
It's funny, but it's where these SEALs and tier 1, tier level 2 or tier 2 people will get together with like CEOs and CFOs and stuff like that to be able to meet up with them to be like, hey, here's what kind of badass shit I've got. Because the first 10 years, that's what when you see this guy's video, he talks about that. First 10 years of your professional life is done being a SEAL or MARSOC or something like that. And then you get out and you want to keep moving that forwards. And now, but you're whatever, 28, 30 years old. And other 28 to 30-year-olds are just finishing up a fucking maybe MBA or PMP or some shit like that. And they have no dirt under their fucking fingernails. And you don't have a PMP. Like my wife is a senior project manager, and does she need a PMP? I was like, dude, if they force you to get that, that's fine. But you have proven yourself by getting dirt on your fucking fingernails and got a lot of traction. So that's why I tell all my clients too. I get to wear my fucking PJs every day because I've proven myself. I don't have to wear a fucking suit and tie. I don't have to be an events planner like I felt like I had been in the past. I can just talk to you guys now on podcast and I don't call this an interview, but just talk to you guys and get to talk about my shit, get to talk about your shit, get to talk about our shit, and do good things. So that's what people like us really care about is, are you actually getting the fucking shit done? Can we trust in performance? Trust in performance.
Yeah.
Money makes the world go round. Trust and performance.
Well, I would say the other thing, Jared, your idea, talking about scaling and stuff like that. So I take it for what it's worth, but like I floated around the startup ecosystem for probably 10 years or so before I started building my own company. And even with on the entertainment side of things, it kind of rings true. But like, when you're talking about an idea and turning an idea into reality, it is important to consider scaling up. But what's most important is to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're saying, hey, I've got this concept, I want to build it, I could scale this nationwide. Fucking A, test it first, right? Like set one up in DC or something, and just start with one, right? Because even there's a book called 0 to 1, right? Like about getting your first customer, your first client, whatever, your first set. But I spent a lot of time personally delaying. Because I'm going, I've got to build out this whole business plan. How am I going to, just this whole grandmaster plan, right? And then I get to a point with startup A where I'm like, oh shit, I've done all of this, but I can't do that thing. So fuck, that's done, right?
Okay.
Waste 6 months, a year, whatever it is. Even with like my production company, like, when I decided to set up my own shop, I was like, okay, I've got all these fucking ideas. I've got probably 60 different film and TV ideas that I could put together, right? And it sounds great in my head. I'm like doing the Beautiful Mind kind of thing, right? Like the numbers and shit, all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, nothing happens until you get started with one thing, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, like I was like, okay, well the first thing I'm gonna do is my book, tell my story. Right. But then I was like, how do I write a book? I did research on outlining and all this other bullshit. But even then, it didn't start until I put the first words on the page.
Gotcha.
Right? And even now, like it took a lot longer. I was like, fuck, I think this is going to take 6 months. I'm like, 6 weeks, 6 months, I'll have this book done. Yes. I started the book 5 years ago, and and I've worked my ass off on it. It's, it's deep. It's hard. It's like, it's an interesting story, blah, blah, blah. But like, but point is, it takes a lot longer, right? So like one of the things in the like venture capitalists and those guys that put the money into like startups, a lot of times they'll say things like, however long you think it's going to take, however much money you think it's going to take, double it, and that's probably still conservative, right?
Yeah.
That's why you have to have people that pay above you to keep you on fucking track, man. I pay people above me and keep me on track.
Say again?
I said that's why you have to have like mentors above you. Call them mentors, but you pay them to be your fucking coaches and guides because I'm saying both. Like I pay my publicist or whatever, X number of thousands of dollars a year, and my YouTube guy X number of thousands of dollars a year, and other shit too, because they're the best at what they do, and I follow their tutelage, and I found that to be amazingly helpful, and that's why I have I've learned from people like them, and just that's why I call it like baseball batting practices. I just do it every week. I'm the coach in the room, helping my clients build their empires, and just be accountability, and just, hey man, how's it going with so and so? How'd that introduction go? How's it going with getting your bank account set up for a business thing? Profit versus non-profit, all that kind of stuff.
That baseball concept's a good analogy. Like you can't be the home run king without hitting the first home run or without hitting the first single, right? Sometimes you got to play small ball, hit singles and doubles, eventually you start knocking in some runs. But you're not going to be scoring until you actually stand up to the plate.
Yeah.
So
Well, hey, Brian, Brian, I appreciate the
baseball fan, but just I like that they do. There's accountability, and the Dan Bongino talks about that Moneyball rule of if you hit good, why don't you hit good? So it goes to the chest candy stuff of like, oh, if you were good at one thing doesn't mean you're good at another thing. Just what you were doesn't make you who you are and who you're going to be tomorrow. So you just have to just take that fucking baby step, man, and just do something, and then keep doing the thing, keep watering the thing, and it'll work out.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate the advice. Brian, I really do appreciate the advice from you. I'm sure that you've gone through trial and errors with a lot of things in the business world. So you know what works and what doesn't. And yeah, any advice along the way that anybody can give, I'm all ears. So
he's out there in LA, so he damn sure knows what lawsuits like.
Yeah.
A lot of people go out there to the LA's, the shiny lights, until they realize there's, thing, right?
Yeah. Fucking everyone thinks they're going to Hollywood to get discovered. Then they take a first step on the boulevard and see somebody taking a dump on the corner, and that's pretty much the reality of it. So
That's hilarious.
You know what's funny is that's a great place to end this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go behind the scenes. So we're going to keep recording this for about another 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. But I appreciate you guys being here. And I mean, if you can't end on somebody taking a shit out in the middle of the street, what's a good bookend there, right? So Jenny, make sure we're marking that we're going to cut off about hour 50 in. And guys, we'll do some
go to Hollywood.
Go to Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Oh, shit.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff.
Hey, Albert, Mike, I got a question for you. Are you still getting clients? Are you overwhelmed? Has it slowed down? Slowing down?
I wish I were. So actually, up until April, I had not had what I call force multipliers. So I'm so good at what I do, and I'm used to having like a 30-minute, I don't call it a script, but I again, funnel. By the time somebody gets on my calendar, they're asking me for help, and then they have to go through some other funnels in the sense of emails and videos and stuff like this. But I was the only one doing some certain levels of briefing. Let's call it onboarding. So my staff doesn't do, let's say, consult or long briefing, but they do some onboarding. And so they were shadowing, some of my staffers were shadowing me just today on that, just to see how I do it. And all I'm doing is just talking about a few things. And there's a video that I videoed my consult, and I say, hey, this is my general consult. If you need any further questions, we'll talk about that. We have baseball practice every week, stuff like that. And my purpose in doing that is because I'm not overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed because I'm underwhelmed. I am heartbroken every day. My heartburn that I have every day is that my calendar is not booked out weeks in advance. I know there are that many veterans who need my help, but they don't know it. That's why I've got a podcast and all that kind of stuff. And now I've got force multipliers that at least 3 of my staffers can do some onboarding calls, help more on their time,
Yeah.
So I've never been overwhelmed by a certain amount of people by getting on my calendar, ever. So,
are you able to, again, I don't know, that's why I'm asking, are you able to reach out and get hooked up with like places like Quad A or some of these other places that have conventions or get-togethers? Is that something that you could have a booth for?
So after COVID, I went to almost, I don't say every convention, but I went to Quad A. Quad A is just south of me in Nashville, except for this year in Denver. So every year that's in Nashville, I go to Nashville for that. I would go to, what am I thinking of? Heli Expo. So Heli Expo. What else am I thinking of? Tampa. So Tampa, as of like next week. Yeah, next week. Crazy. Stuff like that. A couple other ones. But it averaged out to where I was gone like 1 week a month. And even doing like AUSA and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Those things. And since I've been to them, that's what's great about being a I want to call myself an operator, but an operator of my level of now working with operators that I'm able to say, hey, I was at AUSA and I was at blah, 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 and whatever, Huntsville or Destin or whatever. And people go, oh, okay, I know what that one is. And they're good with it. So what I did was I worked hard for a year doing those to where now I can pick and choose which ones I want to participate in. And although I really, really, really wanted to go to Tampa this year and take some of my staffers and say that was going to be our big show, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. Stuff that happened in the fall trickled into the winter, trickled in the spring. All for, I mean, it's growing pains. If you don't have problems, you don't have a fucking business, people. So I'm just going to tell you that. But yeah, I would really like to nail down certain things like Quad A, since it's so close to me. They're in Nashville. I'm actually looking to buy a second property down in Destin, Florida, and because there's just so many fucking active and military down there that just I mean, I could sit at a fucking of a bar and make money every single day, which is what I would do.
I would say take a few months. I mean, don't jump into buying a Florida yet. Give it, I would say 6 months or something, because like they're seeing properties drop like 30% right now across Florida. So,
Either way, like it's a moneymaker. You know what I mean?
Well, right, but I'm just saying homes are on sale right now, so you give it a couple months, because I'm actually looking to buy a place in Miami as well. Yeah, but like we're like, I mean, there's so many properties on the market right now, like it's flooded, dude.
Yeah, you go to Zillow.com and it's just red all over the place down there. We're looking at Lauderdale. Yeah, it's just I got you.
Yeah, so we're looking at like Miami up to like Palm Beach, like the kind of that whole like little stretch. So Fort Lauderdale's in there too, right?
Yep.
Probably thousands of homes for sale.
Yeah.
It's crazy right now. And because there's, I have an MBA, right? So basic economics says that if there's a lot of supply and not a lot of demand, prices have to come down, right? So, and we're already seeing that in Florida. I think it was like Tampa, St. Pete, maybe Fort Myers area, I think Miami area. Like a lot of these, like the market is down like 30% in like the last year. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking to buy in Destin, fucking do it, but like, don't like jump at it tomorrow. Don't sign a deal tomorrow. You give it, you can. I mean, if you find the one that you want, fucking A, right? Yeah. But like, don't feel like you gotta get there right now, or else you're gonna miss out on something.
That's what I like about the, let's say, Destin area, because it's calmer, and like probably saying Pensacola is probably even calmer than that, because it's just the bases and stuff like that. And I mean, I know Destin's got some
shit. Pensacola, you could fart and hit a veteran. Goddamn.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just want to be where my people are. Like I said, I've given 12 years to Indiana, and there's a lot of veterans here, but they're few and far between compared to fuck you, crazy Emerald Coast, Florida. I mean, man, that's insane. Everywhere there's veterans. Yeah. So we go down there. It's weird. I never really cared for the beach. I will never be a Navy SEAL. I don't like being cold, wet, and fucking sandy and sticky and all that stuff. So I grew up in Texas. I grew up in the South. I don't mind throwing hay bales around, but I just don't like sand in my ass. And so bless you, Navy SEALs, for taking one for the team. But you probably don't want to be a medevac pilot, so I get it.
Shit, man. Part of the reason I joined the Marines was because I wanted sand in my ass. I wanted that fucking beach.
Yeah. So, but what's funny is now that my family have gone down there, we've been down there almost every part of the year. Like we'll go down there at non-busy times, and we're just like, hey, it's fall break here in Indiana, which is weird because I didn't grow up with a fall break. But we'll go down there for a week or two in fall break, and then we spent Thanksgiving down there. We spent, I think, Christmas down there. Then we went into spring break this year down there. Never had a bad time. Never, no matter where we stayed, never had a bad time. Never met bad people. Never was like, oh fuck this shit. Never did. There's so many veterans down there. So
Florida's wild to me, man. Like growing up in Michigan, like a lot of people are snowbirds, right? So you probably get that in Indiana too, or wherever else. But like, Florida never fucking appealed to me. I was always like, I got to go to LA. I got to get LA is always like, that's been in my blood, right? I've been here for 6 years, and I took my wife for her birthday to Miami about a month ago. And we were like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I feel like I've been punked. I'm like, I've been missing out on a fucking open secret inside joke. I'm like, this is fucking nuts. Like, Florida is, it's not Florida, man. All right. You know, they talk about Florida man this, Florida man. I mean, there's plenty of dose of crazy over there, but like, God, man, it was just.
You're in
like,
California though, so you got a hot kettle situation. I don't know.
I'm in the People's Republic of California. Goddamn right.
I always want to go to San Diego though. But
San Diego's great. I mean, I love LA. Don't get me wrong. Like I do, but like, man, it's fucking expensive. I sit here. I'm like, okay, I got a 1-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom loft, right? And it's a decent area. It's a nice area. But the amount of money I pay in rent here, I can buy a 3 or 4 bedroom house, standalone house in Miami for the same price.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I paid a little over $3,000 a month for this.
Wow.
Right? $500,000 house, $600,000 house in Miami is the same fucking price. You can't buy a 1-bedroom condo in LA for $500,000. That's fucking nuts, dude. But I'm like, I can get 3-4 times the size of a house for the same fucking price of what I'm paying for this. I'm like, what am I even doing here? Stupid. Plus property tax waiver, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
God damn.
Now, Brian, are you locked to your location, or can you take your business, your job, your work, and just live anywhere?
So I mean, it's my company, so I can do whatever the fuck I want, right? But you know, like my core business partner, she works for a news station out of Houston for her day job, right? And then she, that brings in her core money. And then we basically work on the phone. We FaceTime each other once a week, right? So like all we need is a fucking internet connection or a cell phone service, whatever. I can work wherever. Like me and my wife have been talking about going, buying a place in like Italy or some shit too, right? Like I can get up and go.
It's a good feeling.
Well, yes, but then on the other side of that is. So my wife is she's from Armenia. She moved to LA with her family about 25 years ago. So they've been LA's got a huge Armenian community, but also like she's very close with her parents and her sister. And the fact that like they all live like 10 minutes away from each other.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
So getting her to Europe is like, there's no fucking way. I can't be that far away from my parents.
Yeah.
We went to Miami and she's like, I think maybe we could make this work because it's only a 4 or 5 hour flight, right? But even that, like, I don't think it's gonna be tough. So, but by my business, I'm not bound. I'm fucking producer without borders kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Go.
But like when it comes to my fucking spouse, yeah, that's the drawback. She's even like, I don't know what I could do if you go to Kenya for a month. I don't know if I could handle that. Like I gotta fucking hire her to be my assistant, come to fucking Kenya with me. But even then, she doesn't want to go camp out in the bush with the fucking warriors and shit. She wants to sit in like the fucking, the 5-star hotels or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's funny. But yeah. So long and short of it is no, I'm not bound by. I don't have to be here. It is helpful because a lot of industry people are here, right? I can. Yeah. I mean, talk about farting and hitting a veteran. I can fart and hit a writer. Mm-hmm.
I bet.
I mean, there's a bar 2 blocks down the street from me. I've met fucking award-winning directors, award-winning, film and TV writers, producers and stuff, just by fucking sitting down, having a beer and saying, hey,
what's up? What's your story?
Yeah. Oh, hey, yeah. Fucking Lakers, huh? Jesus Christ. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Fucking. But it's helpful, I guess, in that sense for like, networking purposes and, selling your projects to a Netflix or something like that. But like, even like once you've been here long enough and you kind of know the lay of the land and you know some people, then you don't necessarily need to be here. You can fly in and out or whatever. So it's pretty flexible, especially, I mean, I would say COVID did a lot for that. Because everything turned into Zoom and FaceTimes and StreamYards and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you guys, I don't think I said this earlier to you guys, but if you have any like links or events or anything like that, email that to me and my production team will put that in the description and things like that so that other folks can find you there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like my big thing, we got our website, but it's like we're getting ready to revamp it, apmedia.com. But it's outdated. I'm getting ready to overhaul it, so it's going to be changed. And then the book is probably, to be honest with you, it's probably 6 to 12 months out as far as being on the shelves.
I'll get you in contact with my producer.
Yeah,
for sure.
no, that'd be great. I could actually. I'm looking for publishers and stuff right now. I'm debating self-publish. I don't know, but
Trevor's his name, so yeah, I'll get you in contact with him too.
Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor what?
Crane.
Okay. I knew a different Trevor that was doing some. They were doing some publishing for like veteran stuff. Like what's that guy's name? Who was the Navy SEAL guy that he was like a Master Chief who like was charged some bullshit. He sat in the brig for a little bit, and then he was,
Oh, I know you're talking about like bushy ass mustache, right?
Yeah, I think it's like Gallagher or something like that.
Something like that. He looks like Popeye, man.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy.
He looks the part, definitely. That's for sure.
Yeah, so this Trevor guy, I think, helped him write his book.
Okay, nice.
I think it's called Man in the Arena, like that. But anyways, but yeah, some working on getting a publisher deal, that sort of thing, or self-publishing. I don't really fucking know right now, but that's pretty much there. My partner and I we're in post-production on a PTSD documentary right now.
Brian, that's what I was going to ask you earlier. I forgot to ask you about it. Based on your background, what you do, go ahead. A documentary on post-traumatic stress, definitely.
So my producing partner is a Navy vet. Also, she's a veteran. She's also got PTSD. She's also been a news producer and documentarian for close to 20 years. She's got 5 Emmys under her belt. So kind of like piggybacking with my memoir, so my memoir is talking about the thing that happened, how it affected me in the military, and how it's affected long term, 20 years after the fact, plus, the fight with the military to get vindication, all that shit. Really kind of like trying to pull back the curtain on what PTSD looks like. So the documentary kind of goes hand in hand with that, but it's not that. It's more like it's one-on-one interviews, it's panel discussion related to it's PTSD survivors. There's a couple of government people in there, and we're talking about how it affects us and what can be done. Both in terms of like government stuff, but other different venues.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I told you guys 2 hours goes by fast.
Yes, and I gotta let you guys go because I gotta jump on another call a minute ago actually. So,
Brian, great to meet you, brother. I appreciate the talk. Man. Thank you.
Yeah. Likewise, both of you guys, and if you want to share information or whatever, be happy to share my email, phone number, whatever. And
yeah, definitely.
We can keep
that'll work. All right, brother.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Brian.